Welcome everyone. Our 145th episode under Trends Literature series could not have been more special. Joining us all the way from Lahore, and I really wish to visit the city someday, is the award-winning celebrated author and creative writer Awais Khan. He is the alumni of University of Western Ontario and Durham University. He teaches such wonderful online creative writing courses as well, and soon is going to be out with his fourth book. Amazing. And really welcome, Awais. It's such a pleasure to have you today. It was a dream to have you on the platform, and you're there today with us.
No, it's like I said, it's all entirely my pleasure, and thank you so much for having me, and thank you for doing so much for authors and books, because this is the support that we all need. So, yeah.
I try to do that, but I think I always look at it this way. I just get to meet and talk to such fascinating authors like you. And today is a special one because it's our 145th episode. And I'm so fortunate to have you with us today. But first of all, Awais, I am extremely fascinated by your love of books. You have such a fascinating library, absolutely beautiful library in your house, which you've so painstakingly put it together. I'd been reading about it, thousands of books together. So do you think your writing is a natural progression and influence of your passion for books and literature?
I think yes, to some extent. I feel that every writer has to be a reader first. So I've been a lifelong reader myself, and growing up, I never really thought of writing anything. I never thought I'd be a writer. It wasn't until I was in college in Canada that I actually saw that this could actually be an industry, that people were paid to write books, and there were advances and there were royalties and stuff, and that sort of gave me an idea that maybe someday I could also write a book, and that idea took hold at the time. And even then, it wasn't until I was about in my early 20s or something that I actually started writing. And as I tell everyone, it wasn't until I was 32 that I was published. So yeah.
You never stopped writing after that. I mean, your first book, Someone Like Then in the Company of Strangers, and the book No Honor that we're going to discuss today. And then your forthcoming book in October 2024, In the Shadow of Love. So fantastic journey that you've had. But we begin with talking about your book, No Honor. I've absolutely loved the book. I remember talking to you from London, and I rushed to get the book from a wonderful bookstore that we have in London, Waterstones. And I was fortunate enough to get it there. But, I've been reading the book. I've been also reading the reviews and everything since I got hold of the book. Your book, No Honor, has indeed, garnered a lot of attention and a lot of awards, I must say, for its compelling read and really a thought-provoking theme. You've been writing about social issues, and I think most of us South Asians are really concerned on this, and good that you're talking about them, and you're pretty bold in writing on those books. But what really inspired you to write, especially this book, on a very, very touchy topic of honor killings? And it's definitely a heart-wrenching tale of these wonderful characters, Abida and Jamil, and their, it gets you to shivers, when you read about the story and the trail. So what really made you write about this? Must have been very challenging for you to write this.
It was. I mean, I feel that this was a topic that was way out of my comfort zone. I had no experience with rural Pakistan as such. So that meant that I had to do my research as well. So I did a lot of research. This took 3 years to write this particular novel. The reason I chose this topic was that initially I felt that not enough was being written about honor killings, both in Pakistan or India or South Asia in general. But it was actually in 2016 that there was a very high-profile murder of a social media celebrity by her own brother in the name of honor. And that sort of got me thinking that if someone with that much power and influence didn't stand a chance against honor killings, then what chance did the women in rural Pakistan stand? And that sort of, the idea took hold during that time. And then I started doing my research and everything, and then it ultimately took me to rural Pakistan and everything. So while the events and everything in the book are fiction, but they are rooted in reality, because this actually does happen. in Pakistan. So yeah.
You're very right. I remember the incident. Very unfortunate. And the way you've touched upon the rural Pakistan, I mean, it can be any Asian country story. It can be a story from India as well. And also, the relationship between Jamil and Abida that you've really written in the book. I find it so deeply moving and so complex. But can you discuss how you approach depicting their bond? That was something the highlight of the story. I mean, how the story was built up about the struggles of Abida and then finally Jamil. I don't want to give out much. I want people to really read this book and find out for themselves. And what emotions or experiences did you really draw upon to capture the depth of their connection? I think that was a very sensitive part in the book.
I'm very glad that you liked that. You know, my first thought was when I was writing this book was that I wanted to break some stereotypes because we have this mindset here in South Asia that the father will always be the evil one, and he will never be in favor of his daughter's wishes or whatever, and the father is always the traditional one. So I really wanted to break that stereotype that that's not always the case, and that fathers can be very supportive and very loving. So I wanted to show that bond between, that love between a father and daughter. So that was like my principal idea behind No Honor, to show the love between Jamil and Abda. But but then again, I also feel that something like this, if other people read it, and I felt that it would give them that encouragement they needed, other fathers who were still on the fence about supporting their children, that it is okay to, support your children and to be happy for them. So our society is so, even today, after, we live in the 21st century and everything, but our society is still very restrictive, very patriarchal, very much. And there's a lot of shaming, not just for women but also for men who are more who are progressive are shamed in general. So I wanted this to be a kind of like, maybe a source of support or source of inspiration for people who were progressive and who wanted to, support their children. So yeah.
No, I must say you've really broken the stereotype, because this angle of father helping out and going all the way and not caring about his life or whatever dangers that he was putting him through definitely breaks some kind of a stereotype. Definitely.
Yeah.
And also, I feel that No Honor, as such, it sheds light on the issue of gender-based violence, discrimination, misogyny, terrible, terrible practice of honor killing. And as I've just mentioned, it was truly, truly heart-wrenching. But what role do you think literature plays in fostering this kind of incidents and promoting social change on such sensitive issues?
I think, yeah, I think literature can play a very important role. And if you look at it historically, literature has played a very important role. I mean, I was just watching this TV series that just came out on Netflix, Hira Mandi. It's by
Yes.
Sanjay Leela. And you could see that so much of the literature that's around about that time has influenced that TV series. So literature can be very influential, and I think that as writers, we can use whatever influence we have for positive change, to enact positive change. And like as politicians and speeches, they're for that present time, they're for the moment. But words and books are forever, and they're timeless. So their influence will always be there. So that's I think literature wields a lot of power, and it's all about harnessing that power for positive change.
Your book came much before Hira Mandi, the serial, and
Oh
you
yeah.
mentioned Hira Mandi in the book, I remember.
So
Yeah,
yes, I did. Did I mention it?
I think so. I read Hira Mandi. Yes, and I was going to ask you that. You did mention yeah. Because your
I
book is based on Lahore, and I think as most of your books are, you're so comfortable writing about Lahore. And I think in that process, you mentioned Hira Mandi somewhere. Can you beat it?
I must have, yeah, because you see, it does. It's a very important part of Lahori history, and it used to be the most one
Yes.
of the most popular areas of Lahore back in the Mughal era, and even during the colonial period. So it does, and even today, there are people come from everywhere just to see that place, even though it's in shambles now, and there's no such thing
Yeah.
as Mandi anymore, but people still come and they want to see what it was like back in the day.
Yes, yes. Because that was more striking. I was watching the episode and also going through a book. I said, yes, that's a reference. So that means Hira Mandi does exist in Lahore, as they've mentioned. On a lighter side, if you feel that if No Honor is to be made into a series or perhaps a movie, so what aspect of the story do you think would you really get excited about being portrayed in the movie? Yes, I mean, some part that you feel should be taken as it is.
I feel that the bond between Jamil and Abda, like the father and daughter bond, I feel that that can be showed through film or TV so well. And the funny thing is, the other day someone asked me that, who did I have in mind if I ever wanted,
I was going
someone
to
in
ask you that.
it made me think that I would love for Shah Rukh Khan and his daughter to play it, his real life daughter to play
Okay.
this role, because
Oh,
I think that that could be a very interesting take on the book, that a real life father and daughter are playing a role that is about the love between a father and daughter. So yeah, it could be interesting.
yes. But I think maybe you're right. I think that can be a dream casting, definitely. And
Now we just need to get Karan Johar interested in it.
yes, and also, what else would you like to talk about, No Honor? I know you wrote this book around 2, 3 years back, and whosoever reads it back, or it's, as a writer, how important it has been for you to address this important issue of no honor in this book, honor killing in this book. And how do you think through this story, the awareness of this very, very grave issue has come out? So you would have got some people coming back to you and talking about it. And do you think you opened the dialogue for this through this book of yours, which was in the face, which is very, very, you have very boldly mentioned this, though some people would have kind of gone back and, restricted their thought process at some points in the book, but you've been very open about it.
Yes, I mean, like I said, I feel that literature can play a very big role in societal change. And although we do have laws here in Pakistan now about honor killings and everything, and it's punishable and all, but the problem with our countries is that the rule of law only extends to the cities. We don't really know what goes on in the villages, and most of these crimes remain unreported because of the fact that people are so terrified of reporting it, or they're so terrified of the shame that follows after reporting this crime. And then the police are always generally corrupt in this. So a lot of the what we see, what the crimes that are reported are barely the it's just a tip of the iceberg in a way. So because of that, I felt it was so important to write No Honor, because maybe someday someone very important could read the book, and it could make them think that if they are in a position to enact more positive change, maybe they could. And obviously, because it's written in English, yes, it won't have that much readership in Pakistan, and not as much as an Urdu book might have, or a TV series or a film might have. But still, it does shine a spotlight on this issue, and a lot of readers in the West now understand that what exactly goes on here, and it opens people's eyes, I feel. So it's very important because of that.
So, right. And any sequel to this book you're thinking? Like In the Shadow of Love, I think is a sequel to your first book. So maybe the story of Shakila goes on.
I I could, let's see how this particular sequel goes, the one that I've written, and then I'll think about. But I've never really thought of writing a sequel for No Honor, because I feel that it's such a story that it's neatly wrapped in a ribbon, so it doesn't need.
Give any loose ends, yeah.
Yeah.
Shakila's life is also sorted. Now she's back to her mother. So what
Yes.
else can you do after that? Yeah.
Only thing you can do is, we could probably be a spin-off of her life, like you said. So yeah, maybe that. But then it would be rehashing the same thing, isn't it? Then it's like the novelty of a particular topic wears off.
But how do you maintain such consistency? I mean, people have been talking about you like being such a regular writer amongst all the things that you do, amongst all your TV appearances, talking in TEDx, doing this fantastic creative writing thing that you do online, such well looked up to courses and everything. I mean, talking on BBC, then maybe going to Cambridge. How do you manage all this? And then you travel, and then you also travel to my most favorite city, London, and do all these book club meetings and everything. So how do you manage among all this writing so consistently?
I think I think it's very important to treat it as work. Like obviously it's not exactly my day job at the moment. I do other stuff as well, but I feel that it's very important to treat it like proper work with deadlines and stuff. And if you don't have a deadline looming over you, then set one for yourself. And that's the only way you'll ever finish anything. Because otherwise, then you keep on falling in that rut of I'll do this later, I'll do this, tomorrow, I'll do this next week. So when you do set deadlines for yourself, then it really helps. I think it helps your overall productivity. And the other stuff is all, it's so much fun and it doesn't really take that much time. These appearances and whatever. I think that's all uh, great stuff that happens, and it really helps with publicity and marketing, which we all need as authors, especially a Pakistani author like myself who doesn't really have that much of a foothold in the UK. I really benefit from these kind of things. So yeah, it's not that hard at all.
But I also noticed that you can write anywhere. I mean, you go to even coffee shops with a lot of people sitting there, and you're still able to write. How do you concentrate so well? How does it
I
happen?
I
I
actually
would like to
do.
know that because I mean, I've spoken to so many writers. They have their own way of sitting somewhere, maybe now on a vacation near, maybe some of them have also told me they've gone to Regent Park in London and have written down near the lakeside. But with you, I think you look for coffee shops and you also sit down and write there. How does it happen with you there?
I personally, I do love writing in coffee shops because, like I said, the noise really helps me focus.
Yeah.
So coffee shops are like my go-to place when it comes to writing. And about writing anywhere, I think it's also a matter of deadlines. So if I have a deadline and then I have to write, then I don't really have a choice. I mean, I was in Dubai in February for the Emirates Literature Festival, and I had a deadline for the 2nd or 3rd of February to deliver my manuscript. And I was a little behind, so I asked my agent if it was possible to ask the publisher if I could delay it. And it turned out that it wasn't. So I just spent days and all my time finishing that meeting that deadline, and then I submitted it right on the 3rd of February, right on time, because I just didn't have the luxury of waiting and waiting for inspiration and all of that stuff. So yeah.
Yes, and you've not published a book through any of the Indian publishers. Is it
I
because
have
you have?
Simon,
I
Simon
thought
and
it's
Schuster.
mostly British publications. You've done it
No,
with
no.
them?
Simon and Schuster India have
Okay,
published two of mine.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, 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 okay. I thought it
They're
was.
available in India, so anyone who's watching in India can go and get my books very easily.
Yes, I have noticed that in Amazon India, the books are available. Your books are
Yeah.
available easily. And so that's very interesting because, I mean, you've been reading a lot. So what any special Indian authors that you've in mind that you really go through and you really like their writings that maybe they have influenced? Folks in
I
India would really be interested in knowing that. Any of the Indian
I
authors that you're really fond of.
Arundhati Roy. I like her
Oh yeah,
work a lot.
yeah.
And I used to read back when I was in my early 20s or late teens. I think early 20s. I used to read Chetan Bhagat a lot.
That is how we all begin, right? Yes.
I used to read Chetan Bhagat a lot. And then Arundhati Roy is always, I mean, I love her books. And who else do I read? There's so many good Indian authors. I liked the Booker winner, the Booker shortlist uh, author, Avni Doshi. Her novel was also very good.
Okay.
So yeah, I do try to read as much Indian fiction as I can, if and when. I do also, Sujata Massey, her books are really nice.
Okay.
So yeah, lots of Indian authors. I do try to read as many as I can.
Yeah, because I also went to Daunt Books. I think they had the maximum Indian authors there. So even more than the Waterstones.
Yeah, we used to have a lot of Indian books here back before the trade ban between the two countries happened. So we used to get a lot of Indian authors here. Now you can't find any, apart from Arundhati Roy and some of the other big authors that are published in the UK and US. Other than their books, you can't really see any of the local Indian authors that we used to see all the time in Pakistani bookshops. You don't see them anymore.
And
So
on
it's very
Kindle, you still get them, right? On Kindle, you get them. On Kindle, you get
on
them.
Kindle. Yeah, on Kindle you can.
Yes. But how do you, I know that's a very difficult question for you to answer, but then since the topic of I named it like that, literature across borders. So how do you compare the literature? How do you feel the growth has been between both countries? A very, very honest answer from you. How do you think it is? How do you compare the two?
I think there's a lot of talent in both India and Pakistan.
No doubt.
The writers in both countries are producing such amazing work. The only difference is that India has a proper publishing industry and Pakistan doesn't. So traditionally, what used to happen was that Pakistanis would either get published in the UK or more commonly they would get published in India by the big five or the other independent publishers. India was has always been very good to Pakistani authors. They have always published us, promoted us, and paid us well. Despite the trade ban, Simon & Schuster still publishes my books, knowing the fact that they won't sell as well as they should because of the trade ban, and yet they still invest in me. So that shows you a lot about how well-meaning the Indian publishers are. So the Indian publishing industry has been responsible for the success of many Pakistani authors, and that success that involvement and that their role in that cannot be discounted. So, yeah, the only difference between the two countries is that Indian publishing industry is a proper industry, and Pakistani publishing industry is just exploitative and it doesn't really exist. There's no concept of advances of royalties, and it's not really an industry at all. So yeah, I feel the talent is there, but even even though the Indian publishing industry is great, it's still not as um, good as the UK or US industry. The money is not there.
Hmm.
That the kind of money that the US and UK can give you, the kind of money that you can survive on without doing a day job. Even the Indian publishing industry doesn't have that kind of money yet, I feel. So yeah, that's the difference.
You've had your book launches in US as well, right? One of the book launches, I
I
think.
know I don't have a publisher in the US, so my UK publisher just publishes my books in the US, and it's fine if the books are available in the US, but it's not like a wide publication, a wide release. And I haven't been back to the US since I was like 3.5 or 4 years old. So that was the last time I was in the US. So even when I was in Canada, I did have a US visa, but for some reason I never visited. So
Hmm.
yeah, I haven't been back to the US for many, many years now.
You were in Ontario, so that was a wonderful city. I think that didn't take you to US after that. Yeah, but how do you think? Do you think it is as challenging to write in Pakistan than publishing, or both of them are as difficult?
Yes, it is a challenge to write in Pakistan because like I said, there is no support, so there is no industry. We don't get any money. We don't have any grants. We don't have any government support. We don't even have any private support. It's like writers for the for Pakistanis, writers don't really exist. I mean, even if they do exist, they expect the work they produce to be free. That's the general consensus I've seen exist in Pakistanis, that writers are literally the bottom rung of society here. So it is I keep telling people in the UK that yes, being a writer is very hard and it's a huge challenge. But when you're a Pakistani writer living in Pakistan, multiply those challenges by 100. That's how hard it is to be a Pakistani writer, because everywhere you go, you hit a wall. So, yeah, it is. I don't know how I managed to, survive, but yeah, I wouldn't have survived if it wasn't for the UK industry supporting me. That's the whole point.
I understand totally, but is it also to do with the fact that you're writing in English rather than the Urdu language?
Not really. I mean, I don't. Yes, I mean, the Urdu books are more widely read and everything, but but they're still not as widely read as they should to actually enable an author or a writer to, earn a proper income from writing. So that's a huge problem here.
Yeah, I can totally understand because this is what I've been hearing from a lot of people. But anything that you would like to talk about your next book, In the Shadow of Love, that's making a lot of buzz, and you've been really working hard to get it published in. It's coming out in October 2024.
It is,
So,
yes.
how do you think you have really progressed as a writer from writing No Honor to now writing the sequel to your first book?
Yes, so my debut was in the Company of Strangers. I wrote it back in 2012. It was published in 2019, but I wrote it in 2012.
Mm.
And when, there was interest in a sequel, so that uh, the sequel is being published in 2024. So I finished writing that sequel this year. And funnily enough, the story in the book also moves ahead by 12 years.
Excellent. That's
So
wonderful.
it's kind of like very interesting in that way. And yeah, it's basically the same characters, but the story has moved 12 years into the future, and it's about new challenges, new secrets, new lies, and all of that stuff. So yeah.
So, how does the excitement take you from there? I mean, are you as excited as you were when you were publishing your first book, or now it has become a little bit of a routine for you? But all your
Uh,
babies are as exciting as the first one.
you know, it never becomes easy. It's never easy, and you never really take it for granted because this industry is so cutthroat and so hard that every victory is hard won. So that's what I believe. But having said that, when I was when my first book was being published, I was very naive. I thought that this would be like an instant success and millions, and I'll be, uh, I'll have millions very soon. I felt that by 2020 I'd be a millionaire. So that's the kind of naive. That's how naive I was. But looking back now, I'm on my fourth book. I realize that these kind of things are incredibly rare, and there are very, very few authors out there who are actually millionaires or who earn enough from their books to be a millionaire. And generally, it's all a game of perseverance. You have to keep at it. You have to keep on producing more and more work and hope that one of your books clicks. And then when that one book clicks, then your entire backlist clicks as well. And then people return to read what you've written so far. So that's the thing. We live in hope of that.
But very important lessons, especially for people who want to write and will be listening to this podcast, the first time authors. So they feel, so what are the important lessons you want to give them? That they need to be consistent, positive, go on, never stop writing. How does it work for you? What advice do you normally give to any first time authors who come to you and say, listen, give us some advice which you have learned? Yeah.
I feel that my advice would be to know, so first read as much as you can in the genre that you like writing in. Like if you're a crime author, then try and read crime thrillers, try and read true crime books. That'll help you a lot. So reading is very important. And secondly, my second piece of advice is to never give up because this industry is very subjective. It's very competitive. It's very soul destroying, but it can also be rewarding if you keep at it. If it's your dream, then don't worry about the money. Don't worry about how much you will earn from this and all of that. Don't look at those millions. Just focus on getting your book out and getting published and, realizing that dream. And don't give up because you can never really know what might happen.
But you would advise somebody not getting a publisher option of getting it self-published? Do you feel that
The only time when I will actually recommend self-publishing is that if you know marketing, if you have a good marketing background, then yes, you can succeed there. And if you have a major following on social media or generally you're a popular figure, then yes, self-publishing would be a very, very good idea because you get to keep all the revenue that you make. But if you don't have either of these things, then I would not recommend self-publishing because that's just like a drop in the ocean. You're throwing your book you're publishing it via Amazon or whatever. So it's like a drop in the ocean. It'll never be discovered as well as it should be. So yeah.
And you've also have you kept these first-time authors in mind, people who want to get into writing, that you're taking such an important course in creative writing? I've heard about that. And do you think you're trying to help these people who are wanting to creatively get into writing a book? And how do you help them out through
Yes,
this
of course.
creative
I
writing?
mean, my creative writing course, we try to cover everything from short story writing to novel writing to editing and to publishing as well.
Oh, so it's
So
very
hopefully,
important.
I, I mean, we have helped a lot of people over the years, and I feel that it's so important for people in South Asia to have a decent knowledge of what publishing is like. A lot of people here don't understand it at all, and that's why they fall prey to these exploitative publishers in Pakistan. So yeah, I try to do that, and the other thing is that my courses are very affordable. I keep the prices very reasonable because people in Pakistan can no longer afford a £3,000 course in the UK or whatever. Even a £500 course would be too much. It would be too expensive because of the whole exchange rate issue. So I keep my novel courses very cheap so that people in Pakistan can afford it, to them.
So it's only
And
for
yeah,
people in Pakistan. It's an online course, so anybody can join in.
online is open to people all over the world. So for Pakistanis, the fee is even lower, and for people who might be abroad, it's like £60. So £60 is literally nothing, and it's a 5 week course, and you get feedback and all of that stuff. So yeah,
Also very right, because you yourself, I think, have done a creative writing course from Pebble. So,
I did, yeah, 2 courses.
so that is where you feel that, the kind of cost you would have paid there. I mean, not many
Yeah,
people can afford. So it's, yeah, I
exactly.
was getting very fascinated by this. So I thought I must include this in my talking to you. And anything else that you would like to talk about on your book that we've not touched? I know we've not touched so much, but I really wanted people to kind of go to the book, go on the Amazon, then go the right way and buy it and go through it and give you the reviews. You have such wonderful reviews in any case on the book everywhere. So, and also
Well,
your favorite character in the book, there were so many. I obviously liked Abida and Jamal, but Shahid also to some extent, the kind of support he was giving. Abida.
the only thing I would like to say is that if you're watching this, then go ahead and buy my books.
Yes.
But yeah, I do. I write fiction with a social issue at its heart, and but beyond that, my most important objective is to make sure that my books are readable. I want people to be, I want people to read. I want my books to be page turners. I feel that no matter how serious a topic you're writing, it doesn't mean that it has to be dull. So I feel that it's very important for fiction to be uh, something that people enjoy rather than they feel as a chore reading, even if it's about a social issue. So yes, readability is a very big factor.
Yes. And any special characters that you still remember from No Honor that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, Abda and
Like,
Jamil,
apart
obviously.
from the father and the daughter.
Oh, okay. I really liked the Begum. I've forgotten her name now. What was her name?
Nargis? No, not Nargis, the other. Nagar. Begum Nagar.
Yes, yeah,
See, I
yeah.
remember. I just read the books.
Yeah. So I totally forgot her name. Yes, that one I really enjoyed writing Nagar, and she's one of my favorite characters from the book. So see, basically, initially, the way I wrote No Honor was that she had a point of view as well. So she had
Yes.
chapters from her point of view. But
Yeah.
then it was becoming getting a bit confusing, so we decided to keep it to Jamil and Abda. But yeah, I really liked um, Nagar.
Yeah, the reason why I also liked her, one of the characters that I really admired, because, in the initial part when you were talking about Appaji, the main, um, like Manisha Qala of Hira Mandi. So we had Appaji in your book. So she kind of, deceived her and kind of said, okay, we are making you run away from the Haveli, but it was a trap for them. But Nagar was not doing that. Begum was very supportive. So
He
that came
was.
as a big surprise how she kind of, all these years, especially with a husband like Rana ji, she was still wanting to make a difference in whosoever's
Yeah,
life she touched upon.
yeah, she had humanity, and her. I think she changed as soon as she found out that Abda was different from the other women.
Yes.
She took a. If you read that chapter, she took a complete U-turn
Yes.
after that.
And she also helped Jamal to get into the Haveli. So I think she was instrumental everywhere. She was like a godmother.
She was,
to,
yeah,
yeah, she made a lot of difference. So I must tell viewers, there's so much more in this book. A lot of, as he mentioned, all his books are page turner. This one too. And I intend to read all your books, and I'm looking forward to October 2024 with The Shadow of Love. I'll definitely uh, approach you again for the conversation on that book. Definitely.
absolutely. I'm more than happy to do that.
And
Thank
thank you so much for such an amazing conversation. I mean, definitely, as one of the reviewers had said about your book, I've written it down, that you are a bold and a very, very gifted storyteller dealing with a very, very gritty, thorny issue of female honor. Definitely a compulsive reading, no honor, that is. And so are your other books. So thank you. Any last words you'd like to say before we sign off?
you. Is that thank you for all your support to my readers, and this would not have been possible without you. And this is basically why every writer writes that, because of the readers. So yeah, keep on supporting us.
Thank you. And thank you so much. And we wish to see you someday. And as you always wanted to visit India, I hope that's sooner than.
I hope so. That would be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the best for your upcoming book and all the best for all your future working. Hope to see you in India very, very soon. And everyone, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can get to see such wonderful conversations like we had today. And thank you, Awais, for being there. Thank you. Thank you so much.